So where are you?
I'm just in my bedroom, actually.
But where are you staying? You're in Paris or you're in...
Oh, no, we're in England.
In England. Maybe we could start by the beginning, which is like your average day during this quarantine period. What do you do?
So the average day is like I wake up and I immediately get quite excited about the like, because where we live we have a big garden. We have quite, like, we're lucky we have a lot of space. So I sort of get quite like excited and think about what I can do today, like what useful things that I can do. So I'll go and have some breakfast and then maybe go into the garden, have a look around, and then begin a job. However, that's because it's been the holiday, like it's been the Easter, the school holiday here. But from tomorrow, it's back to school. So tomorrow we'll be teaching the children as well. I'll be less excited.
So you do class every day?
Yeah. We're trying to try to keep some sort of schedule, for the children. I mean, otherwise they'll become stupid.
And how old are they?
They are 7 and 5.
And is it okay to, like, how did you explain to your children what was happening?
Well, they, already at school, they knew they had to wash their hands all the time. Like already they knew that something was kind of going on. But the children are very adaptable. Like they're fine. I think to begin with it was a bit confusing, but they understand, and they know, they know that it's not. They know that it's kind of serious, but they know that it's not, like, that they are fine.
And you yourself, how do you feel? Like, do you feel anxious about what is happening, or do you feel confident in the future, or do you feel nothing?
At the moment, I feel fine. I am a bit scared about how I would react if I got it. But I mean, like I was saying, like we have spaces. So I'm kind of happy here. Really, I don't need to go anywhere.
And to talk about cultural stuff, so you were saying that you were not listening to a lot of music?
Since I was since I was 12 or 13 years old, like the springtime has always been a kind of Stevie Wonder time of year, like putting on, but that, this kind of good, feel good spring music is what I like at this time of year.
Do you remember how did you discover Stevie Wonder in the first place?
Well, it was because, sorry, I just need to charge my phone. The reason was, I think my mum and dad already had a couple of Stevie Wonder records, but then some friends of my sister, they were playing jazz, or like one of them was a jazz singer, and then she started singing. I can't remember which song it was, but anyway, they started listening to Stevie Wonder, all of her friendship group, and yeah, so that was the first time I really kind of started to realize how good it was.
And if you had to make someone discover Stevie Wonder, by which track would you start?
I don't really. There's "Smile Please" is a song that I really like. But I guess something like a kind of obvious one, like Superstition, is it's a very like arresting song. So I guess, yeah, one of those two.
And let's talk about movies.
Yes.
Have you watched a great movie during this quarantine period? Or do you watch like Disney stuff?
Well, actually, it's funny because my children are actually watching. Sorry, I was going to move this again. My children are watching Frozen right now.
Ah, okay.
Before the quarantine, we were traveling. We were like playing in America,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw that the Joker film,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which I was like, I thought that I was going to hate it. Like I really thought, and everything I'd heard made me think that I really wouldn't like it. But I was very impressed with that film. I enjoyed that a lot. But since quarantine, the only film that I've like sat down to watch with my partner is Point Break. It's like, and it was on TV, but I missed it. But I was really like, I remember loving that film when I was like young, and so yeah, we watched that, and it was good. It was fun. It's a fun film.
And what did you like in this film when you were younger? Do you remember?
Point Break.
Yeah.
I had a friend whose father was like seriously into films, and he like he I remember him either taking us to the cinema or getting like renting the film out or something, and like when you're that age, Point Break, like it doesn't mean anything. It's just like a weird combination of words, so I didn't know what to expect. And I remember like as a whatever 11-year-old or something, maybe younger even, but when I first started thinking like this is like the coolest film I've ever seen, and I'm thinking like that, you know, Keanu Reeves was the coolest guy. Thinking that it's Laurie Petty, is that her name? Is that her name? I think it's Laurie Petty. Anyway, thinking that she was like the coolest woman in the world, and yeah. And then watching it now, it wasn't quite so amazing. But yeah, it's like it's perfect for young people.
Did you want at that time to become a surfer? Did you surf?
I was skateboarding. I was a skateboarder, but then it certainly, yeah, it would have made me want to surf. Yeah, but I didn't.
And what about the books? Do you read?
So it's kind of the same. Like, so I read more on tour, and I was making a big effort to read much more. And like the book, this was the book that I was halfway through. Although it's like short stories. This one.
Okay.
By Ted Chiang. Chain? Yeah.
I don't know him.
Sorry?
I don't know him.
Okay, so it's like short science fiction kind of writing, stories of your life and others. And they made like one of them they made that one. They made that short stories of your life into a film called Arrival recently, which is very good. I think what's interesting about this sort of event happening is how it's kind of been like films have been made about this kind of thing, you know, like science fiction films, and often they're much more sort of negative than the reality is, you know, and I think so it's quite fun to sort of be living through something like this and to feel quite like, oh, like, well, nothing feels that different apart from the fact that you're like stuck inside. I mean, like it's a huge difference, but at the same time, you still feel like you still feel like you're living
I
in like
understand.
England or in France. So I feel like it's quite like I was gonna maybe say 1984 as well as the other book, just because it's such a like what kind of this kind of event compared to the imagining of like something like 1984, just how the reality is much more boring and kind of but like and reassuring in a way. Like I was thinking, you don't get people writing books about like this kind of thing in the future, and everyone going out onto their balconies and like applauding the nurses. You know what I mean? Like you don't like no one writes that kind of science fiction, but it's what's happening. So it's quite nice.
Do you think that there will be an after, that the world in the future will be totally different from the world before this crisis?
I hope so. Yeah. I mean, I had there was a very interesting. I wish I could remember his name, but I was watching a news on the UK news last night. There was the sort of I think it was like a not a philosopher, but a sort of something a bit like a philosopher, but also something to do with geography. Anyway, he was saying how he hoped that this sort of worldwide um, action on a kind of single issue will be used to help with something like climate change. Like how if you have everyone in the world right now is doing something to try and help everyone else in the world, like it's quite a kind of powerful concept, I guess. And if after this everyone can think like, oh yeah, well if we all work together for this one reason, then we can kind of quite easily change something. It's like wars, isn't it? Like lots of technology, lots of stuff happens because of terrible things like war. And I guess you hope that maybe because of this there'll be lots of improvements in medicine, and I don't know, all kinds of stuff. So I'm positive at the moment, but we'll see. Okay. Depends how long we have to stay inside.
And at the same time, there is a big cultural crisis, like all the festivals are canceling.
Yeah.
How do you picture your own future as a musician, or do you don't picture it?
I think we'll be, musicians will be fine because people really love music. I think festivals, in my opinion, are like, whether or not they're kind of proper cultural events really depends on the festival. Some of them are, and some of them have big sort of charitable things involved with them, but others are just quite cynical.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I feel like I'm sure that some festivals won't survive, but lots will. I think that bands like I think will be fine because we have amazing fans who I think will be quite excited to see us again one day. I'd be interested to know what the effect is on like the art world, like the sort of gallery, like play, like the culture which you actually have to go and physically stand in front of. Like I think that's probably interesting. But then again, I'm sure that after this there'll be a huge kind of surge in people going to museums and galleries because yeah, you don't really realize how nice you take it all for granted, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And do you nowadays work on music? Do you try to create or no?
No, I don't think I will. Like I will soon. I'm gonna have to start trying soon. Even though a lot of good music is made in isolation and in quite a solitary way, I think the whole point of music is this this sort of communication, and I think without feeling like there's much of that going on, it's hard to feel connected to like the people who are supposed to listen to music. So I mean, I'm not sure that much good music is going to be made now during this, but I think the experience of maybe coming out of it will make some quite exciting music, and I think that the experience of concerts are going to be really special, when they happen again.
Because you yourself, you take like inspiration most from the world in which you live, or because some
Yeah,
in a way, we as a public, we can picture like a musician as a very lonely person being in a studio and writing things, on his own.
yeah.
It's not the
Well,
way you work.
I mean, I think that there's different things. Like I mean, it's in a way, it's the same as with painting or with art or whatever. Like, yeah, the action of doing it is done. It's alone. You're alone when you do it, but it's made for other people. Like it's made for other people's ears and other people's eyes. So without kind of, I think without feeling like you're part of the world, it's kind of hard to make music that's for other people. Like I have some songs which I was beginning to think about before this happened, which I can work on, but like to actually come up with fresh like ideas is not, it's not the most creative of environments, I guess.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And have you ever, during this quarantine period, considered changing your life? A lot of people have, like,
Yeah.
I'm going to start,
Yeah.
from scratch and just raise llama in the Peru or
Yeah.
do
Well,
something
I mean,
else.
like, so I mean, here we have land, and we're like growing vegetables, and I'm like learning how to build different kinds of things.
Really? Okay.
And yeah, sometimes I feel like, oh well, this is kind of this with the addition of being able to like see people is perfect. Um, but but then the other day, but then I went into the studio the other day to record some like live versions of songs for the internet, and then I really did. I had a very nice time. Like I felt quite differently to how I'd felt from since this began. Like playing music and doing that kind of thing still gives me a pleasure which I can't get from farming.
And what do you miss from the outside? Is it something that you really miss from before?
It's not like, I mean, there's obviously this like not being able to finish the tour that we were supposed to have is a shame. Um, but the thing that I miss since being inside or like being confined is just, it's kind of just like going to the restaurant, going to like a beach, or like it's kind of like going somewhere with a purpose at the other end. Because now it's like you can go somewhere, but you can't really enjoy it when you're there. Like you just have to do something to exercise or to shop. So I kind of miss just like having a destination or something like that. Like yeah.
Have you discovered something, yeah, during this period? Like I don't know, for instance, I've been myself. I subscribe to a lot of newsletter,
Oh yeah.
and I've discovered a lot of things through the newsletter that I didn't know before.
I guess I started using the internet more for like useful things. Like so I've been using YouTube to watch like proper tutorials on how to like make concrete and and like build things. It's not particularly cultural, but I guess the like medium is quite interesting. And so I think for the first time the other night, instead of watching TV, I was like searching, like I was watching YouTube on TV, which sounds very boring, but you know, it's kind of I think the interesting thing about like culturally, maybe the interesting thing about being locked down is that if you watch television now, television has had to really lower its production values because there's less staff. Like people are at home, they're sharing studios, so like real TV looks much more cheap, you know, and in the same way that people kind of generated TV looks much more similar to what you're watching on real TV. So I feel like maybe for the first time the public are actually able to generate quite a lot of cultural stuff and like programming for one another, which is and now it's like it's a genuine alternative to what's on actual television.
And what will you do? The first thing that you will do at the end of this period?
Well, I think the first sort of proper thing we do is like see my parents, and I think we'll see like our parents, but then probably just like go to a pub, I guess.